Hello and welcome. It's another Thursday. Television with Tommy Vitolo, TV with TV, I guess we're calling it, on Brookline Interactive. We're actually recording this show the night before. It is Wednesday evening, Earth Day, April 22. When we record it, but you will see it the next day, Thursday, April 23rd. And I'm here with dear friend and social worker, Betsy Pollock, and I will give you the full introduction to our very special guest in a few minutes. As always, I want to begin with a rundown of what's changed in federal, state, and local government with respect to COVID-19 in the last week. It's actually a pretty long list this week, which is exciting, I think. Number one, first and foremost, this past Friday, the legislature passed and ultimately the governor signed a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures. This doesn't preclude all evictions, but this certainly precludes evictions due to inability to pay. So, you know, if you're acting like a jerk and breaking your apartment, you can still get evicted. But if you're having trouble making the rent right now, you cannot get evicted. I encourage you, if you're having problems with rent, contact your landlord, let them know, try to work with them and find a way to resolve it that in a way that works for everybody, but know that you absolutely cannot be evicted right now. If a landlord begins that kind of process, reach out to me. I always put my name and number up. We'll do it early. Tommy Vitolo, 617-872-8921. And my email is tommy.vitolo@mahouse.gov. Contact me, contact the Attorney General's office, contact an attorney. Furthermore, foreclosures on mortgages, both for residential and for small business, both the evictions and the foreclosures, there's a moratorium there as well, and the bank must accept forbearance. And so if this is a circumstance that you find yourself in where this would be useful, like I said, contact me, double check with the law, work with the lending agent or the landlord. There's a lot of opportunity here to at least defer for several months if necessary. Secondly, school is out for summer. More precisely, we will not be sending K through 12 public or private back to school this academic year. That is a big deal if you're like me and have little booger pickers running around the house. Daycares are closed until June 29th. And so while the governor has not made any statement about reopening up businesses or other details, know that if daycares are closed until June 29th, that certainly impacts an awful lot of the workforce. And so we will see in the coming weeks ahead exactly how our economy will ramp back up again, but we don't know yet. More good news, 1099ers, that is to say, people who work in the gig economy, independent workers, they can now get their unemployment benefits. The website is up and it's working. And this is the website, www.mass.gov/unemployment/COVID-19. That website is working and it's helpful, but if you are having problems, again, you should always feel free to reach out to me personally, and my staff will help you get through it. Some other notes: the state Senate has passed an e-notary bill, which seems pretty mundane until you remember that things like wills and last testament, as well as a number of other transactions and legal documents, have to get notarized. The House, I expect that the House will pass it on Thursday, April 23rd, today, but we're pre-recording, so I don't know if it'll happen or not. I hope that it will. Next, we have legislation on the House we've passed. It's going to go to the Senate that would track COVID-19 cases at long-term care and elder housing. You may or may not know that a remarkably large number of cases and an even higher fraction of deaths are associated with elder living, whether it's a nursing home or a similar facility. And that's not a surprise. It's a lot of people living in close contact, and they have medical staff and others who are interacting with them on a regular basis. And so we're really trying to understand the problem so we can react more quickly. And this bill is part of that. I'm hopeful that the Senate will pass it and the governor will sign it. Locally, the select board is requiring that you wear a mask if you're outside in Brookline. There are exceptions if you're under 2, if you're having trouble breathing, if you're really, really far away from everybody. But by and large, if you're going to be outside because you need to be, please wear a mask. It's not about protecting you. It's about protecting all of us from you. You may be a carrier. You may be asymptomatic. And COVID-19 spreads from droplets of water, from when you sneeze or when you cough or even when you breathe heavy. And so it's really important that you stay inside if at all possible. And if you've got to go out, please wear that mask in compliance with the select board's orders. The week of May 11th, it's in a few weeks. It is Trash Amnesty Week. The DPW does a Trash Amnesty Week once or twice a year. They've actually moved it forward to May 11th, recognizing that with so many people at home and perhaps with more packaging as people are receiving things by mail, they may have more trash sort of built up than their canister can handle. So put that on the books. Number 8, the Brookline Elks are raising money to buy lunch for Brookline town staff. They've got a GoFundMe site. The Tommy Vitolo campaign is certainly contributing. This is a longer URL, so I had to put it on a bigger piece of paper. www.gofundme.com/F/Brookline-says-thanks. And if you throw in some money, it's going to go to a local restaurant who's agreed to give a discount so that we can feed our town staff who are working in really difficult conditions right now and under stressful circumstances. So we want to buy them lunch, and I would encourage you to chip in. Finally, it's library week. And even though we can't go into the library right now, the libraries are still quite active, developing programs, educational and otherwise. Of course, you can still borrow electronic books and other electronic materials from the library. And we're grateful that the Brookline Public Libraries really are doing a remarkable job supplementing the public schools and supplementing other town services to help folks who are sheltering in place to get through it a little bit easier with a little bit more joy and a little bit more learning. So thank you, libraries everywhere, but especially the Brookline Public Libraries. And now I want to bring us to our guest, Betsy Pollock. She is an LICSW, which she'll tell us all about. The SW is social work. The L is probably licensed. She'll tell us more. She also is a recently former director of social work for the Mount Auburn Cambridge Independent Practice Association. She's also been the president of the Senior Center Board of Directors since 1986. And to give you a sense of how long ago that was, these guys won the World Series in 1986. Sorry, Boston. I grew up closer to Shea Stadium than I did to Fenway Park. And fond memories of Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden back in 1986 when Betsy took the helm. So without further ado, we're going to hand it over to Betsy, who's going to tell us first about the Senior Center itself. After you sort of tell us what LICSW means, please tell us about the Senior Center and, frankly, how it's doing right now.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks for a really nice introduction and reminding me of my age and how long I've been doing this. But you know, this part of being a resident of Brookline and a native of Brookline, which I am, is just one of the pleasures of my life of contributing and being and participating in what I think is a very exciting town. The demographics of the town have changed, and we have over 20% of the population of Brookline is over 60. And so the issues related to seniors are really quite significant. And I know you asked me what my letters after my name stand for. And very interestingly, LICSW is Licensed Independent Clinical Social Worker, and it's the highest level of licensure for social workers in Massachusetts. And I remember when social worker, and he and I got our licenses at the same time, and we were very excited to go downtown and be part of the first group of people getting a social work license. So that being said, I do have a long history in Brookline. The senior center, as you reminded me how long I've been serving on it, we didn't even have a physical center when I began, and it took us 15 years of work to build a center. But what we were doing before that is really what we've come back full circle to provide basic services. During this period of very difficult time with COVID-19 and this pandemic, our social workers, and we have a great team of social workers at the senior center, are focused on the basic needs of our senior population. Whereas at our senior center, we have so many wonderful programs, and people start to think of, well, what can we do? How can we provide recreation and enhance life and make life interesting for our senior population? Our social workers right now are really working on the basic, real serious needs that seniors have. Food insecurity, medication insecurity, people who are very stressed, who are isolated, and we are able to be called, and they're all working remotely, from home. Although I have to say, I was one of the people who sewed a batch of masks, which a big bunch went to the social workers from the Brookline Senior Center, because sometimes they need to make a home visit and see and check on someone and see if they're right and to do that. They weren't hospital level masks, they were the homemade variety. Dusted off my old sewing machine, and which I hadn't used in many years, and that was an adventure in sewing. And you can reach the social workers at the Brookline Senior Center if you have a problem, if you're experiencing difficulty, by calling numbers, which is 617-730-1070 or 730-2777. And the social workers are available to you. But they're also, I think we also need to think about how hard this is for seniors. We hear in the news, this virus is particularly toxic and dangerous for the senior population. And that includes myself. This morning I went to Whole Foods. I ventured out with my mask at the senior hours, where there was very carefully, and I've done that at Trader Joe's as well. And our neighborhood stores are being very careful to make things easier for seniors. Seniors may not be able to get out, and there are a number of resources available to them. Mutual Aid Brookline is one of the organizations that is available to get food delivered, and the website mutualaidbrookline.delivery@gmail.com. Throwing these things out without Tommy's putting them, on a sheet up against the screen. But if you go to the Brookline Senior Center website, which is brooklineseniorcenter.org. They have the link to all of the aid societies and all of the organizations that can provide you with help. I do want to say, not only as being a list of resources, but I think as seniors who are feeling it very incumbent upon them to stay at home as much as possible, and get a little, mostly, really be at home inside. It's a very difficult time. And I recommend, as a social worker and as the president of the Senior Center Board, to reach out to people. You make a phone call. If you're not comfortable with the internet, make a phone call. Call a neighbor. call a friend, call somebody, and to just have even the briefest of conversations. That can make a big difference to your day, because we're very vulnerable to feeling depression and isolation, which is very dangerous for your health. You want to keep up your strength. You want to do some stretching, and you want to try to have some contact with people, even virtually, online, or in a phone call. More active members of our community to reach out to seniorhood. We have a program that we launch at the Senior Center called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And that means if you know somebody on your block, in your building, who is older and you're wondering how they're doing, give them a call. Slip a piece of paper under their door and let them know they can call you. If you go to them, it really makes a difference, a really big difference to someone's life. So on the one hand, I think the seniors need to feel not shy about reaching out and asking someone for help, and feel that it's okay to accept help. This is a time when we're all pulling together. And those are really important things to do for your mental health and for your physical health. The Senior Center has a slew of online programs. There are Zoom programs. Tommy and I are on a Zoom platform right now, which takes a little adjusting, but I mean, I learned to get on there and do it. I can't say I've hosted one yet, but I certainly have been on many. Even reconnecting with old college friends, having my book group online, even having a dinner with friends where I ate and they ate, and we were shooting the breeze. So it's because I live alone, and it's important to make sure that you maintain those connections. But I'll tell you programs that the Senior Center is offering. They have Zoom programs for sewing, discussion groups, physical, Zumba. There was a grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield doing a yoga dance class. The library, which Tommy was talking about, is helping with the Memory Cafe and Music Therapy program, which is online. There's a Facebook program of Qigong, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, which is a very ancient form of therapeutic exercise. And these are all the programs that are currently going on. If you are internet savvy, able to get online and be on a Zoom call, be on Facebook, those are available to you. And they're also planning. There are a number in the pipeline, so that aren't even on there yet. Pending programs. I was given a list. There'll be a Brookline CAN election forum. There are genealogy workshops. There's a Brookline adult ed classes that they're planning on broadcasting. There's going to be a poetry workshop, a ukulele group, current events. There's just a vast array of programs that make it a little easier to have this time when you're not able to get out, and make it a little more enriched. If you're not able to use those kinds of platforms, you may find someone, let's say, who can help you with it. Call the Senior Center staff and see if someone can help talk you through it. What I want to remember to say is, to the rest of our community, all of these programs are run by volunteers. And the Brookline Senior Center is a wonderful opportunity, has a wonderful opportunity to engage volunteers. If you have an idea for what you'd like to offer to seniors online, on Zoom, on Facebook, that can be set up. I mean, that's how the Senior Center programs, and you can contact Julie Washburn at the Senior Center, who is our Director of Programming, and she can connect you to try to set up some programs. We are a volunteer-based organization. Yes, there's a professional social work staff, but as I said at the outset, they are working on really much more complex psychosocial issues that our neighbors and our community are facing, of, as I said, problems with food, housing, health. They're really helping with the more serious issues that people face. But for the recreational and enrichment programs, we depend upon volunteers, which reminds me, our food program, which we had Springwell is the organization, the Aging Service Access Point organization, which the country is divided up into sectors, and Brookline falls in with Springwell, which serves Newton as well as other communities. They are sending meals the way they would send Meals on Wheels to people who were ill. They're providing the meals instead of serving the meals at the senior center, which is now closed. They are delivering meals, but their delivery force are mostly seniors, and many of them are no longer able to make the deliveries. So this is an urgent need. If you are able to offer your services to drive and deliver the meals, please contact Springwell. They're really needing this help. So Tommy, what else can I tell you that I may have skipped or missed?
Well, I think you did really a great job of explaining all of the things that the Senior Center is continuing to do. You mentioned BCAN, the Brookline Community Aging Network. Of course, we also have a remarkably effective Council on Aging. And really, those three institutions working together do quite a remarkable job. But as you mentioned, 20% of Brookline's population is 60 and up. There's tremendous need. Of course, there are seniors who speak a variety of languages that aren't English. There are seniors who have challenges communicating in other ways. And so it's a remarkably diverse population to serve with a remarkably diverse set of needs. I'm on the Joint Committee on Elder Affairs in the legislature. And so I have been ramping up, frankly, on just how remarkably diverse the needs and, frankly, abilities and capabilities of older adults are. And so thank you for running through Senior Center issues. What I would like to do is talk more generally about older adults. Of course, everyone living alone is struggling right now, sheltering in place. But I wonder if you could tell us maybe how things can be more acute for older adults. And then also, if you are an older adult by yourself, how you can self-recognize that you've got the blues, or that you are struggling in a particular way, so that you know to reach out. Because if you don't recognize that you have a need that's being unmet, you're certainly not going to ask for help. So what can older adults do to recognize that these really difficult and unusual circumstances are pulling at them in ways that are beginning to be unhealthy?
I think that's a really good question. I think I want to look at it from several different angles. One is that older adults have a long history of dealing with, of having lived through many problems and many eras, not all of which have been fun. And it's good to remember that survive a difficult time. This isn't a fun time. This is a difficult time. And you do have the capacity and the inner strength to find the resources you need and to feel and to weather this too shall pass, and you will be able to get through this and survive it. We know that many people do not, which unfortunately is one of the sad things. And as an older adult, you probably have seen the names. You've known people who have succumbed to this disease. You know people, and it's a pretty common it's occurrence. And so that you're faced with the feelings of your own finitude, which is very hard. And it's okay to feel sad. It's all right to find yourself feeling sad. If you feel sad all the time and you're not eating or sleeping, and that's the time to seek help and to reach out to somebody to see, really, you can reach out to Brookline Mental Health Center, or you can reach out to one of the social workers at the senior center who will connect you to help. That's really a signal when if you're feeling that you've lost your appetite, you don't sleep at night, you don't want to get up at all in the morning, you've lost your will to live, then you want to reach out for help. And you can call a trusted friend or one of the social workers at the senior center or the Brookline Mental Health Center. People are to you. Even our police department, very sensitive to the needs of seniors in dire straits. So that we have a community of great support. But I also want you to know that you have wisdom to impart about how a person can survive this kind of thing. And it might be a good idea to record your thoughts, to write down letters to your family, to your children, to your grandchildren, if you're lucky enough to have them, about what your life was like and what issues you survived and what tough times you overcame. I think seniors have a great deal of wisdom to impart to people who are struggling with this disease and wondering how to deal with it. So I don't think seniors are just victims. Seniors have a wealth of wisdom to impart to other people, to younger people. And it would be a good idea, as I said, for the younger people to try to reach out to seniors. They could ask questions. How did you get through the Great Depression? How did you get through, a tough time in your life? What do you have advice for me?
I love that you mentioned that, we think in today's society with the prevalence of cameras and smartphones that all of history is being recorded, and that historians in the future will have no trouble putting together 2020. In fact, historians have been begging for people to keep a journal during the coronavirus crisis, older adults and others. But keep a journal and just write down what you're thinking, write down simple observations. They don't have to be worthy of a Pulitzer Prize. Just writing down what you're experiencing, even the minutia, even the day-to-day, believe it or not, will be remarkably interesting quite soon. And it may also help you just sort of sort out your thoughts, organize your priorities, help you remember the things that you wanted to achieve today or this week or this month or this year or this decade. And so doing that's a great thing. I'm glad, Betsy, you mentioned young folks. We've got just a minute or two left. You talked about volunteering for Springwell, and you talked about just sort of generically picking up the phone, calling someone you know. Is there anything else that young folks can do to help older adults right now during this time when, there are older adults in apartment buildings who have not left their room in 6 weeks? What can young folks do to help? And by young, I mean anyone who wants to help, whether or not they're young.
Well, I really think what I said before, if you can if children could draw a picture or adults or their parents could leave their numbers and slip them under a person's door or, near, they're not, because I think a lot of people are afraid to even use an elevator in some of these big buildings because that's a dangerous spot. Just to let someone know that they're being thought of and that encourage them to reach out, because you don't have their phone number perhaps, but you could at least let them know that they could call you, maybe give them a time to call you so they can check on them. And I left out something. If you're in a building, maybe you have a buddy. There's that old-fashioned buddy system. Is there somebody you can call every morning and every night or every noon just to say hello? How are you doing? Oh, I'm miserable today. I do that with my friends. I'm feeling blue today. Well, they said, well, you'll be better tomorrow. And what's that? And and then the next day I'll say, it's not so bad today. I feel better. So your emotions are going to seesaw and be a little bit of a roller coaster, because it's hard to stay positive, and you don't want it's too seductive to feel sorry for yourself all the time. You want to really think about how you feel, express it to somebody, and you'll find that you will start to feel better, and you can weather this.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you so much for appearing on the program today. The time goes quick. I want to use the last few moments to remind folks that we are effectively bending the curve, that staying at home, that doing a really good job washing your hands, that wearing a mask when you're outside, it is working, but we're not through it yet. That doesn't mean we're all going to go to the movie theater tomorrow. So we've got to stick with this. We've got to keep working hard to keep each other safe, and particularly to keep those who are the most vulnerable safe, which includes, but it's not limited to, older adults. Thank you for tuning in this week. Next Thursday, I hope to have on the program a grocery store worker, so we can learn about what it's like to be in the grocery stores, learn what those stresses are like, and also learn what customers could do to maybe behave a little better. So hopefully that will be next week, but you'll have to tune in to find out. Thank you, of course, to Brookline Interactive Group for hosting, and thank you to BCAN and the Senior Center and the Council on Aging for working on this issue so important. And of course, Betsy, thank you for being on the program. I look forward to giving you a hug sometime in the year 2021, if not sooner. Have a great day, everyone, and be well.